good evening, and welcome to yet another edition of the countdown to the Bermuda Day Half Marathon Derby. We're just 7 days away. This time next week, runners would be sitting on the sideline, soaking feet, and just wondering if what they decided to do was well worth it. And I know many would say it is well worth it because they accomplished their goal. I'm your host, Earl Based, and joining me today is none other than former winner of the event, Rosanna Hoy. Rosanna, first of all, thank you very, very much for joining this evening.
Good evening, Earl. Thanks so much for having me. It's a real pleasure to be back in the running scene again.
Oh, yes, indeed, it is. It is, and it's good to have you back out there as well. Let's talk a little bit about the actual Bermuda Day Half Marathon. What aspects of the race do you feel suit your running style best, and how, when you were out there and one of the top contenders, and you still are today, I think you could win it today, but anyway, how did you adapt your training to capitalize on those strengths?
I think distance runners tend to fall into one of two categories. I think there's some of them, you call them speed demons, and other ones you call endurance monsters. And I'm very much an endurance monster. I love running long. I really enjoy long runs. I never mind going out for a run. And the only runs I regret are the ones that I don't do or I don't finish. And that's where it suits me, because this event is a true test of endurance. I always say that it's a 15-mile long half marathon. So it's how you feel if you ran a half marathon in New York or in Boston or in Ireland or somewhere, and then you have to go and run another 2 miles at the end. It's incredibly difficult. And the conditions and the terrain make it very difficult. But at the end of the day, everybody does the same race. So you can't really complain.
Yeah, because I noted that you had done a few 50-milers as well.
Yes, I've done 2 ultra marathons, and then I did some of those backyard ultra races where you do a loop every hour. I was actually really pleased. I did the one in February. It wasn't too long after I finished treatment, and I managed to get to 50 miles, and I decided to bow out then because I think I would have gotten in trouble at home if I had stayed out any longer. So it wouldn't have been the most sensible decision for me at that time.
Right. That you got to be smart at times. The Bermuda Day Half Marathon, the atmosphere itself is truly unique. How did you harness the energy of the crowd and the significance of the day itself to fuel your performance during your wins of the race?
Mostly I love seeing kids out on the route. I help Ashley Cooper out with coaching the MAC juniors. So I see a lot of kids out there going, hey, Coach Rosie. So that's really nice to see. And I have to pretend I'm feeling okay then and give them a bit of a smile. Also, on my son's little friends, Matthew's now 11. He had little friends out in the course. And they're like, there's Matthew's mom. You don't get known as Rosanna Hoy, the runner. You get known as Matthew's mom. So, it's nice for them to see that, hey, somebody's mom can do that. Maybe that's something I could try myself in the future.
Yeah. With the unpredictability of the weather, that often plays a major factor in the strategies on the day, because you could plan and train leading up to it, but to manage potential heat, humidity, or even wind, rain, whatever. How did that influence, how did it influence your pace or just the way you took on those races?
I think that's a very good question. I think the conditions are, very significant in this race. As we always say, it's like somebody turns up the thermostat and the humidity the day before. Mm-hmm. And you don't always get to train in those conditions. When I was pretty hardcore in the past, sometimes I do long runs with an extra top on me so that I get used to running in extra heat. Sometimes I would do a race as part of a long run. So I would, maybe run 5 miles and do a 5-mile race and then run 5 miles home. And that also helped with that conditioning, because you learn to work on when your legs are really tired, because ultimately that's what you have to do. For about half of the race, you're running on really tired legs. and legs that are already challenged.
Yeah,
The other thing
definitely.
is I always favor long distances. So I think if you're really going to challenge in this race, I think you need to train beyond the distance. So half marathons are 13.1 miles. My longer runs would be 17, 18 miles for the race. And then
Mm.
coming closer to the time, I would have 15, 16-mile long runs with a tempo run at half marathon pace, like in the middle of it.
Oh,
And
okay.
that really helped me to prepare for it.
Yeah, yeah. Looking back at your previous Bermuda Day half marathons, especially the winning ones, is there a particular moment or memory that stands out, especially meaningful or challenging? And what did you learn from that experience?
It's difficult because I think probably one of the most meaningful years and the most challenging year was the year I ran when Matthew was 12 weeks old. So that's 11 years ago now. I came third. So it wasn't actually a winning race for me, but I was extremely proud of my performance. Like, you know, I basically fed my baby and I got to the start line. My husband drove me to the start line and I basically ran from Somerset to town. And I was exhausted and Matthew was very young and I managed to run pretty well. Like I think maybe 131, maybe 132, something like that. Like a very solid time, a time certainly that it would have been won in previous years.
Right.
And I really think it showed me that, you know, somewhere in me has the ability to turn the legs over like that. And it's almost like an automatic response for me. So I'm hoping that might kick in this year as well because the training hasn't been really favorable. So maybe I'm hoping to run on a little bit of muscle memory.
Well, we know that is a big key because it is always how you feel on the day that you can actually change gears and so forth. But the local running community is incredibly supportive. And how much does that support mean to you as a runner in this iconic race? And are there any specific individuals or groups whose encouragement you particularly appreciate?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. Like runners are incredibly supportive of each other. Really, like I'm really supported by like my family, my husband and my son and my friends. They all come out. They all do some races as well, but they come out and cheer me on. And their kids like will make me posters, you know, and stuff.
Right.
That's really nice to see out there. Like especially over the last year, like with my cancer diagnosis and kind of going through what I went through. I continued running all the way through it. And
Hmm.
every time I'm out there, people would just say, it's just so great to see you out there. And it always made you feel good when
Right.
somebody said, oh, it's just so great to see you out here.
Uh-huh.
And it made me feel like things were a bit more normal for me. I have like my friend, I run a lot with my friend Patrick as well. Like he ran with me pretty much all the way through my treatment. And
Right.
it was sometimes I just needed that little push out the door, you know, just,
Sure.
you know, you can get really into your head and it's a very tough time. You know, it was a very tough time for me. And it really, running was really a form of meditation for me and helped me to get through some of those darker days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because you're helping me through my challenging periods right now. So I know exactly what you're talking about. It's mental and it's a lot of stuff going on. But going into the race, the years you were the favorite. There's often a level of expectation, not only from yourself, but from other people and I guess the general public in many parts. How did you manage that pressure leading up to the race day, and was your primary goal and what was your primary goal for the event? Is it purely one about I need to win this because I'm a favorite, or let me just get through this a personal best, or something else?
It's quite a difficult one. Like I was the kind of person I feel like I trained to suit my abilities and I trained to my strengths. So first thing first, you got to trust your training. It doesn't matter what training plan you choose. You know, if it's one designed for you, you got to trust it because the second you start doubting it, it's the second you fail essentially. I used to work very hard on certain paces, like particularly on half marathon pace. So I had to trust myself that I would be able to reproduce that on the day.
Hmm.
Sometimes leading up to the race, you'd feel a bit of pressure because you'd hear about somebody going, oh, they ran a, 127 in New York, or they
Right.
ran, all that sort of thing. But really, to be honest with you, I've run with people over the years. I remember running beside guys at the start of a race, at the race, and they had run a low 120, low 120s in New York,
Uh-huh.
and they couldn't break 130 on the day.
Right.
So to be honest, sometimes past performances or performances overseas don't always match up with how it's going to go in Bermuda Day.
Right. Right.
One of the key aspects of this race is also fueling. You got to
Mm.
take on plenty of fluids, and you
Right.
got to take on some electrolytes somehow. So you got to get your stomach used to that as well. So
Mm.
within my training, I used to practice that as well. I used to practice because I don't really like the taste of gels and things like that, but I know how important they are for the
Right.
event.
Right.
So there's no point pushing yourself if you're not going to get to the finish line because you're underfueled. That's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
very important aspect of it.
Yeah. Um, Another question. When they moved back to St. George, and I believe this is the fifth time, or third time, um,
It's definitely, I think it's maybe the fourth. Potentially fourth, is it?
fourth time, maybe, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fourth, I can't
But
remember.
but the change of did that excite you in any way? And obviously now your strategy has to change just a little because of that causeway where it's wide open so early in the race.
Oh, for sure. That really changed your strategy. So when you come from Somerset, there's a hill like just after mile one.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like more about an even effort. And I think that's the key with this race, really. If I was racing this to win, I try to run an effort and not a pace. Because on a day where you have it, 70 degrees and 70% humidity, the time you're going to run is obviously going to be better than if it's, 80
Right.
degrees and 95% humidity.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about that. It's your
Right.
body. That's how your body responds. You're going to need to slow down. So I think one of the important strategies in this race is that running to an effort. With coming from St. George's, you have that flat aspect across the causeway. It can be a bit tricky if it's windy. So
Yes.
you might try to tuck in behind somebody, or you might work with somebody a little bit to try and balance that.
Uh-huh.
But you really should be running that first 5K faster than your second 5K because of the terrain.
Mm.
I think
Mm.
if you leave it too long, you could end up, and you were chasing somebody, you could end up running out of real estate because you're going to come up against really challenging terrain then later on in the race.
Right. Right. Definitely. Uh, and of course, beyond the competition itself, what does participating in the Bermuda Day Half Marathon mean to you personally as an athlete? And what message do you hope your performance sends to aspiring young runners on the island? Because you do coach the young people, and what you know, just looking back at that, what do you say about that?
To be honest, this year has been probably one of the roughest years of my life. And, really going into this race, I really want to go and just give it my best shot and enjoy every moment of it. And I want to show young people like my son or his little friends or the kids that we coach that, you can do hard things. Just because something's hard doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Mhm.
And I always think the way that life is right now, we're always looking for an easy way out of things. And, you have AI to help you write essays. There's lots of conveniences and lots of modern
Yeah,
convenience that I do enjoy in my life.
right.
And I think in some way, we've all lost our path a little bit when it comes to being resilient.
Hmm.
And I think long distance running really helps you to become more resilient. So I'm thankful that I had that experience of being a distance runner, going through a period of ill health.
Hmm.
And I think it's, trust yourself and do something hard. Believe in yourself. Because you know what? If you don't believe in yourself, it won't happen. You have to do it.
Right, without a doubt. Thank you very much. Well, Rosanna, thank you very much, and we look forward to you being on that start line next week Friday, and we
Yeah.
look forward to see you coming through the finish line next week Friday as well. Big smile always on your face, and just the personal goals you set for yourself, and as I said to someone just yesterday. Getting across the finish line, no matter what position, you're a winner. You won your race.
I agree with you. I always say long distance running is the great equalizer. Everybody goes over the same start line and
Yeah.
they go over the same finish line. And quite frankly, when somebody is out there in that heat and humidity, I really pray it's not me this year, for 3 hours, like I think that shows incredible resilience and
Yeah.
strength.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I'm kind of, I talked about trusting your training and I haven't been able to do as much training this year. I did Boston, I had to rest a bit after that. So I'm actually off to run 13 miles tonight just to double check that I can do it.
Okay.
So as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go and hit the roads for 13 miles
Okay.
before I go to bed
Well,
tonight.
I guess you'll see people on the street waving and telling you good luck.
Oh,
And I
yes,
want to
for
wish
sure.
you I want to wish you all the best come next week
Thanks, Earl.
Friday. And
Thanks,
just
Earl.
enjoy the day,
I
please.
will surely.
Enjoy the
Thanks
day.
so much as always.
Okay. All right.
Take care.
Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Fun running.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.